a place where the air hangs heavy and every creak of the floorboard sends a shiver down your spine. Today we're journeying to Busan, South Korea, to uncover the chilling story of an old hotel with a dark secret. This isn't just a ghost story, it's a tale rooted in real events, a place where some say the guests checked in, but never checked out. Imagine this. You're looking for a cheap place to stay in the bustling city of Busan. You stumble upon an old, slightly run-down hotel. The price is unbeatable, almost too good to be true. The elderly owner greets you with a weary smile. The lobby is filled with dusty furniture, and the air smells of old wood and something else you can't quite place. You take the key and head up a long, winding staircase to your room. The room is simple, Spartan even. But as the night draws in, strange things begin to happen. You hear faint whispers coming from the walls, like a conversation happening just out of earshot. The temperature in the room drops suddenly, leaving you with goosebumps. You try to dismiss it as an old building's quirks, but the feeling of being watched becomes impossible to ignore. A shadow flits past your peripheral vision. A doorknob rattles, even though you know you're alone. This is the experience countless travelers have reported from a specific, infamous hotel in Busan. The stories all share unnerving similarities. Guests speak of seeing apparitions, a woman in a traditional white hanbok wandering the halls, her face obscured by shadows. Others have heard the distinct sound of a child crying in the middle of the night, only to find the hallway completely empty. So, what's the real story behind this place? To understand the haunting, we have to travel back in time, back to a darker chapter in Busan's history. During the Korean War, Busan became a critical port city, flooded with refugees fleeing the conflict. Conditions were desperate. Overcrowding, disease, and starvation were rampant. Many makeshift shelters and buildings were hastily constructed to house the overwhelming number of displaced people. Our story's hotel stands on land that was once the site of one such refugee camp. It was a place of immense suffering and loss. Families were torn apart, and many souls perished under tragic circumstances, their lives cut short by the ravages of war. Local legends say that the spirits of those who died here, filled with sorrow and unable to move on, became tethered to this very piece of ground. When the war ended and Busan began to rebuild, the camp was cleared, and eventually the hotel was built. But according to the legend, construction didn't erase the tragedy that had seeped into the soil. The new building simply gave the restless spirits a new home. The energy of the past, the sorrow and despair, was trapped within its walls. The first owner of the hotel, a man who had lost his own family in the war, reportedly experienced paranormal activity from day one. He would hear disembodied voices calling out names, see fleeting figures in the empty dining hall, and feel an overwhelming sense of sadness in certain rooms. Instead of being frightened, he felt a strange kinship with the spirits, believing them to be fellow victims of the war. He would leave out offerings of food and drink, speaking to them as if they were long-lost family. This brings us to the most chilling part of the legend, the guests who never check out. Over the decades, there have been several documented cases of guests who vanished from the hotel without a trace. They would check in, pay for a night or two, and then simply disappear. Their belongings would be left behind in their rooms, luggage packed, beds sometimes unmade, as if they had just stepped out for a moment and never returned. Police investigations were launched, but they always hit a dead end. There were no signs of a struggle, no witnesses, nothing. It was as if these people had just ceased to exist. Locals began to whisper that the spirits of the hotel had claimed them, pulling them into their world of sorrow, perhaps out of loneliness, perhaps out of a desire for the living to share their fate. One of the most famous of these disappearances is the story of a young backpacker from Europe in the 1980s. He was traveling through Asia and wrote in his journal, which was later found in his room, about the strange, sad vibe of the hotel. His last entry was particularly haunting. He described a dream where a young woman in white led him by the hand through a foggy landscape, promising to show him a place where he would never be lonely again. He was never seen again. His passport, his money, all his possessions were left behind. He had checked in, but he never checked out. Shamans and spiritual mediums have visited the hotel over the years, and their findings are terrifyingly consistent. They all describe the place as a magnet for lost souls, a vortex of negative energy left over from the war. They claim the building itself has developed a consciousness of sorts, feeding off the sorrow of its spectral residents and the fear of its living guests. They say the most active area is the top floor, specifically the end room of the longest corridor. This room is said to have been the site of a particularly tragic event during the refugee crisis, though the exact details are lost to time. Guests who have dared to stay in that room report the most intense experiences. Full-bodied apparitions appearing at the foot of the bed, objects flying across the room, and the terrifying sensation of invisible hands holding them down as they sleep. The hotel's staff, those brave enough to work there, have their own collection of tales. Maids refuse to clean certain rooms alone. Night clerks have quit after seeing figures on the security cameras that weren't there in person. One former maintenance worker swore he was working in the basement when all the lights went out, and he heard dozens of voices whispering his name from the darkness. He ran out and never went back. So, is this hotel truly a gateway to the spirit world, a place where the line between the living and the dead is blurred? Or is it all just a product of overactive imaginations, fueled by the building's creepy atmosphere and a dark local history? The hotel, whose name we are deliberately not mentioning to respect the privacy of the current owners and to not encourage reckless ghost hunting, still stands today. It's less of a functioning hotel and more of a crumbling relic, a monument to a forgotten tragedy. Some say it's closed. Others say you can still rent a room if you know who to ask, if you're brave enough to spend a night where the past is anything but dead. The story of the Busan Hotel serves as a powerful and haunting reminder. It reminds us that some places are soaked in history and some histories are written in tears and blood. The echoes of the past can linger, and sometimes those echoes can reach out and touch the present in the most terrifying ways. Whether you believe in ghosts or not, the tale of the hotel where guests never check out is a chilling piece of folklore, a warning that when you check into a room, you might be checking into something far older and far darker. What do you think? Would you have the courage to spend a night in a place with such a dark and mysterious past? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoy diving into these chilling true stories and urban legends, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss our next journey into the unknown. Thanks for watching, stay safe, and always check the reviews before you book a room.